Hey, this is Matt once again. What about the end of the video? The paid request, this time for frame by frame. Thank you so much for that. And for those interested in requesting any type of videos, topics, reactions, commentaries, reviews, randomness, whatever it may be, feel free to send it either directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. Both links are down below in the info box. Now, frame by frame, and I want to get it right so I'm not putting words in his mouth, he's asking to talk about the big no-nos of cinematography. Like, for example, explain why Don't Worry Darling has bad Limitroph? I'm not sure what that is. What makes a film visually interesting? Well, number one, what makes a film visually interesting? This is up to the eye of the beholder. Different strokes for different folks. That's number one. Number two, some might not even know what Don't Worry Darling is. So, did you have quick thoughts on that film? That was a movie directed by Olivia Wilde. She co-stars it. The actual stars is lady named Florence Pugh. Chris Pine is in it. And there's a lot of like drama behind the scenes. Like Shia LaBeouf was supposed to be in it, but then he got fired, and people said he was difficult. But then you find out apparently that really wasn't the case. And like Olivia Wilde was just crazy as a director, and she had fights with the lead actress, and that's why the lead actress, didn't do a lot of promotion for the film because Olivia Wilde was being a bitch. And Olivia Wilde was going out with this guy who I think took over for Shia LaBeouf, but then they broke up, and I think that's the same guy that threw water at Chris Pine during a premiere. I don't know the full details of it. See, the Olivia Wilde is another person that lost her goddamn mind, like a lot of people in Hollywood. But the story is that it seems like it takes place in the 1950s based on the clothes and the technology, and the women stay home and the men go out to work. Our lead, Florence Pugh, she thinks she sees someone end herself. She knows some other weird things going on. People say, no, you're just seeing things. You're going crazy. I don't want to spoil it, so for people who don't want spoiled, beware. You find out it's part of a simulation. And it's yet again another bit old take on toxic masculinity. If you don't do that, at least do something clever with it, or interesting with it, or anything in between. It just, you don't seem as inventive, original, or fresh because it seems like every other fucking movie talks about that or deals with something like that. And then with your plot, it just causes a lot more questions. If this is a simulation, who the fuck built this? Who afforded this? Who put all the time and money just to, hey, this woman, I need her to be submissive to me. So here's a simulation where she's my doting wife, and I don't know, get a fucking hooker. I think that'd be a lot cheaper than doing all this shit. And why is it that if this is a whole simulation, then why is it that in it there are pieces of paper and books with all this stuff blacked out, which is important stuff that tells the whole thing? Why would that be in the simulation in the first place? How about you're in the real world? You talk about the shit you need to talk about. You talk about the important shit. Then you go into simulation. Not go into simulation and go, oh, wait a minute, there's some important shit. Let's give you these books and a bunch of shit that's marked and blacked out. And at the end, there's this big car chase where they gotta stop this lady from escaping. Why you need a car chase to begin with? Just sedate or unplug the lady. This isn't the Matrix where the people plugged in are far away from the people that want to unplug them, other than Joe Pantoliano, who does unplug some of them. Like, you're there with these people. Why you just, oh, she's going through sedate, pull the plug. No, why we have this big car chase? It's like there's a, you know what? Let's have a shitty version of the Stepford Wives and the 13th Floor, which I actually didn't mind that film. Bit of an underrated film, the 13th Floor. Let's just have that the Stepford Wives put together and make it shit. And more toxic masculinity, because I haven't heard enough of that. Man, I haven't heard that for the past 10 minutes. But anyway, shit movie. But yeah, the cinematography, as he was talking about, as I was watching with Fabio, because it was a paid request to watch the film, and we did it on Fabio's channel, the Italian Stallion 51. And watching the film, I'm like, this film doesn't even look that good. Like, it's not enticing of a look. Whether it's because it's supposed to be in a simulation or whatever the case may be, it just had this kind of filter, bit of a yellow look. Not as piss yellow as, say, Assassination Names with John Van Damme, but going that direction, it just wasn't that great. I just didn't care for the look of the film. And like I said, with any movie, there's going to be exceptions. If it works for the story, if it works for the plot, and everything in between. But what we're seeing more and more with cinematography nowadays is there are exceptions to the rule. Blade Runner 2049, I think, looks fantastic. 1917, to really give kudos to the cinematography of that film, among others. But we're seeing more and more of this fake digital look, even in terms of that, because back in the day, you had to light that shit on set. That's why you watch so many of these making of behind the scenes documentaries on older films. And one of the things they talk about how it took so long to light the set, it took so long to light the scene. Because these cinematographers knew they had to get it right. Just if they don't, they fucked it up, and it's their word, their job, their look on the line. And people want to see that film, and they're gonna go, "Why does this film look like shit?" And it's gonna hurt their business and hurt them getting jobs. They are much more prevalent and pertinent about their jobs. They want to make sure it looks as good as possible, at least for the most part. And they had to do it on set. It's one thing if you have like Star Wars and the special effects scenes, but even then you had to light the model work the right way. So even there was some work to that, because at the time there was no post production, there was no, well, we could go after the fact and work with the computers. What I mean by there's post production, but not in the terms of today. It's very different than to how it was back then. Nowadays, hell, there's a lot of cinematographers, not all, but a lot of them that don't even get a final say on what the film looks. After you shot it on the set, now we have other people in post production. We put it through the computer and we change it with filters. This filter is going to be color grading is going to be different. We want it brighter in this scene. We want it darker in this scene. We want it to look more blue or more red or more yellow. And yes, it gives you more of a choice, but I think that can also hurt because I think people can overindulge and go, I want to make this look this way because it makes me seem artsy. It makes it seem like I must be a great director because look what I did with the filters. And because those filters are from a fake digital motif, it doesn't look real or natural. And again, that film's supposed to be a simulation, but it still gives this unappealing look to the film. And yeah, there are films I enjoy that don't look the best, and they overcome it with story or characters or music or action or spectacle or humor or whatever in between. But I guess for me, what works best in cinematography is like special effects, makeup effects. Do it real because you cannot get more real than real. And other than maybe a Roger Deakins and what he was able to do with Blade Runner 2049 and able to make that film work with the look of the film, a lot of times, even when you look at like direct-to-video films, look at direct-to-video films back to the day in the 90s, like PM Entertainment, and then you look at some of these direct-to-video films nowadays, like Welcome to Sudden Death with Michael Jai White. Like, okay, it seems like you guys have a similar budget, but one looks so much bigger and so much just photography-wise, whether that's because shooting on film. And shooting on film does bring a certain advantage because think about how many films were on 16 or 35 millimeter or whatever, and you put them on Blu-ray and 4K, it's like, wow, that looks so good, looks so much better. And you can't really do that with digital. Like, digital is what digital is, and so a lot of these digital films, when you bring to 4K, there's really no difference. But films, when you bring to 4K, because of the way they were lit, because of the way they were filmed, because you could bring up the naturalness, it just seems like that much more of a fulfilling picture. And like a lot of things, I mean, the computer was the best, and the internet, the two of the best inventions we've had. But with everything, there's the genie out of the bottle, and it's not always going to be sunshine and rainbows. And with all the positives, there's always going to be some negatives. Special effects and CGI makes it so you can do anything you want, but the question is, should you do anything that you want? You have a lot more choices, but there is a bonus to limitations. It makes you think harder, it makes you think more creative, it makes you think more outside the box, and maybe it's to the point that maybe you shouldn't have everything at your fingertips. Limitations can help you get more creative, and that also goes in the lighting. And when you're dealing with characters that live within a realm, when the lighting is natural and the way, because we all can relate to, we're all somewhere where light's casting on our faces, our hands, our feet, our face, our bodies. We know how that looks. So when it looks off, again, unless for a certain purpose, it could take you a bit out of it. Same with CGI, whether it be a CGI blood hit or something else, fire, flipping of a car. You can see that on YouTube with car crashes and fire, so you know what it looks like. So when it's off, the same with cinematography. When it's off, you go into the film for escapism. When it's a bit off, your escapism is taken out a little bit. And with the constant filters and things of that nature, just more and more. There was a certain quote I remember reading somewhere, and I don't know if I can find it, but yeah, I can't find it. But something about the filters, how it's less about natural look of a film, and it's more about whatever the director entails, and the direct. And it's not just the director. Sometimes it's like up to 5, 6 people. 5, 6 people get into it. No, make it look like this. Make it look like that. And a lot of times it isn't just one actual vision of what a film should look. So then some films look just bland or dull or meh, and there's no life to it. Or you just stuff like here where, okay, you want to put this yellow filter, but it just looked ugly. And I don't know how else to word it other than it looked ugly. Like the cinematography just looked ugly to me and unappealing. I don't know how else to word it. But like I say, with cinematography, it's in the eye of the beholder. Whatever you yourself. Someone looks at the painting and they see the meaning of the universe. Another person could look at the same painting and go, "Fuck you talking about? It's just an apple, just an apple on a tree." So you look at the same painting, get different results and different points of view. For me, when I looked at Alien and the way that was lit, because it had to be done for real, it feels more alive. But then you look at a newer film and it's all done after the fact, it just doesn't quite look the same. And it's hard to put into words. And a lot of people don't want to say it in Hollywood because it's like, they don't want to offend someone. And they're like, well, we can't put the genie back in the box and all this. I don't know. It's like stunt work, and Someone was asking me the other day, do you think they'll ever make a film like Hard Target and these movies with stunts and squibs? No, because when you're able to do fake blood and fake squibs and CGI enhancements, when that genie's out of the bottle again and it's out of the box, nah, if we do that, it takes too much time and it's too dangerous. And this is more for safety precautions. And if we screw up, we have to clean it up and get a new shirt and put another little explosive squib. Nah, we just do it one take. You hit, we'll add it after it. Boom. We don't have to worry about cleaning up set. We don't have to worry about doing a second, third take in case it goes wrong. When, understandably so, you're more safer, but it just same with today. Nah, it takes too much time. We don't have enough time to light it the way you want it. We'll light it after the fact. We'll just use filters. We'll just use. That's another thing I didn't even get into. Time. It saves on time. You take a long time to light it, like you had to back in the day. That's it. They had no other choice. You had to light it as well as you could on the set. Otherwise, there's nothing else you could do. Nowadays, it's not the case. You shoot this video, put it in the computer, and change it to black and white, to this and that, all the filters, lighter, darker, and then you just do that and save some time and light it on set. We need to move, move, move. Time equals money. We don't have as much money, or we do, but we don't use it for other stuff. So I think nowadays people don't know how to use money as well as they did back then. And things cost more nowadays, to be fair, as well. So they're like, we'll just do it after the fact. And we do it at the fact, then it's like, okay, either it's done by committee or it's not done with a singular vision or whatever the fuck. So it's like a lot of things. I think movies look better back then, and yeah, more real stunts, real effects, real lighting. Like, it looked more real. And you can't get more real than real, and I don't know how else to put it. There are some films out there that look really good, but they don't seem as prevalent compared to back then. And don't worry, darling, I just didn't care for the yellow shit that they were going for in that. And it just didn't look as striking as I think it could have been. But that's just me. So with that said, thanks for watching. Take care. We'll see you guys later.